this is going to turn into a bit of a what not to do with a transit van engine. Because it's been sat for so long and everything's so seized, I cannot get this fan off. It's absolutely solid. So what I'm going to have to do is, and this is going to cost me a little bit more money, I'm going to have to take the oil pump off. I was wrong in the last video before I paused it. That's the water pump. This pulley wheel, I do believe, is the oil pump, because we've got a feed for the alternator for oil. Now, what I've done is, I've dropped the alternator off to get to a bolt at the bottom of the oil pump, because there was a nut at the back of it and a bolt at the front. I'm not sure, but I think all the others are just bolts. I'm hoping that they're just bolts. Some of them I can get to with a socket and ratchet, and an extension bar. So I will undo those. Right, this one that I'm undoing also has a casting for the alternator on it as well. I can see some of these bolts snapping because they're so old as well. I've taken a couple of pipes off as well. I've taken the top radiator hose off. I've taken a couple of pipes, water pipes off from back here. That was just to gain access to the alternator and the back of this. So the alternator, let me just explain for people that don't know. So this system here is like a slide adjuster. This hole would be bolted on with that bolt there. You can just about see it, that bolt there. And there would be another bolt through this block that slides up and down. And that would bolt to the top of the alternator. I think it's that way on. And what you would do, you'd bolt the alternator through that, it might be that way actually. You'd bolt the alternator into that block that slides up and down on that big screw thread on that bolt. You'd put the fan belt and everything on, and then literally when you tighten this big long bolt here and it pulls this block towards the end of the arm, that would tighten the fan belt. Right, let's see if we can undo this bolt. While I've been paused, I've tried everything to get this pulley wheel off, but it's not coming off. So unfortunately, as probably a few of you mechanics have done working on these transits, I've got to do it the hard way. And I've got to take the oil pump off. And I don't think there's any way that this fan is coming off the oil pump. I think it's been sat for so long that it's seized on, which is bad. Don't worry, I kind of know where all these bolts go. Or we shall see. We shall see. Right. This bolt obviously I can't get to with the socket and ratchet, so I am going to have to spanner it out, which is always a pleasure. Pardon the sarcasm. I'm just wondering as well whether there's any bolts behind this timing case cover for the oil pump. I suspect there is, because that's how car manufacturers like to mess you about when you're a mechanic or a DIYer. Yeah, car manufacturers are always thinking of new ways that they can upset people so that they can't work on their own vehicles. It's been like that for a long time. It's more apparent now there's EVs, electric vehicles. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. You'll probably let me know in the comments enough what I already know about electric vehicles, because me personally, I don't think they are worth the money that you pay for them. purely because, take this engine for example. This is a perfect example. If this was in a transit van that was actively in use, say there was the person that owned this van really wanted this engine fixing, someone like me or a mechanic, to a certain degree, we could take it apart, fix it, put it back in. If you have to put it, if you have to take it out the van, sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. It depends what job you're doing at the time. Sometimes jobs are easier just taking the engine out completely. Some, not all, you can do a major overhaul with the engine still under the bonnet, but it is a pain. I won't lie, it is a pain. These transit engines, incidentally, if they are the mechanical pump version, there is literally 2 diesel pipes, 4 water pipes. You've got the top hose, the bottom hose, and the 2 heater matrix pipes. You have got the ground cable or ground strap, whatever you want to call it. Then you've got the starter motor positive from the main supply from the battery. You've got the starter motor exciter wire, which actually makes the starter motor turn when you turn the key. You've got the stop solenoid wire, and depending on how you want to do it, if you want to split the engine and gearbox, you've got I'd say about 14 bolt, maybe 10, 12, 14 bolts around the gearbox, 2 engine mount bolts, and that's pretty much one of these transit van engines out. You just need to attach a crane and lift it. If you want to keep the gearbox attached, you would take the gear stick off. That is done from inside the cab. You would go to the base of the gear stick where the rubber gaiter is, pull the rubber gaiter out of its mount on the floor. I think there is either a rubber or a foam donut to stop exhaust gas coming up through the hole. You pull pretty much all that out, and at the bottom of the gear stick, the bit that you move to change gear, there's, I think it's 2 17mm bolts that you undo. That splits the gear stick. You literally take the top 2 feet of the gear stick off, and you're left with a stump probably 3 inches long that goes into the gearbox. You could do that. You could then, what else is there? There's 4 prop shaft bolts, 2 I think it's 2 gearbox bolts that hold the gearbox to the chassis. And same again then, once you've done the electrics and the electric, the fuel and the water on the engine, and undone the 2 engine mounts, you've got 2 engine mounts, 2 gearbox mounts, 4 prop shaft bolts, and then the whole lot can be craned out. Exciting stuff. And then obviously, going back to EVs, you can then put one of these engines on the floor in the garage and do what I'm doing and take parts off, replace parts, or you can put them on an engine stand. I've got an engine stand, but I didn't really want to put this on it because I'm not sure of the weight capacity of that engine stand. I don't know whether it would actually take the weight of this engine or not. Also, if it did, the engine stands, for those that don't know, this is not a mechanics video that you want to watch, unless you want that and giggles. The engine crane actually fits on the back, right where the flywheel is. Now, if I wanted to test fit the plate that I was telling you about, that puts the engine into the marine category or industrial engine category, the SAE adapter plate, if I wanted to dry fit that to make sure it fit, literally just push it onto the engine, go, yeah, it looks like it'll fit, all the bolt holes are in the right place, and then pull it back off, I'd have to engine crane this onto the floor to put that on and take that plate off. I don't really want to be doing that because I'm lazy. I would rather leave this engine on the floor and work on it on the floor. There's another reason why I don't want this on the engine stand. There's no reason that I know of that I need to get to the bottom of the engine. I don't think I've got to change any of the crank bearings or shell bearings or anything like that. I don't believe that I've got to take the oil sump off. So while this engine's sat on the sump and I don't have to take that off, it's fine. I don't mind kneeling on the floor. I've usually got a piece of rubber mat, but I can't find any today. I will, for next time, I will get a piece of rubber mat to sit on, because I know health and safety is going to go mad at me. But hey, whatever. This is like a hobby sort of this has got to be done for business kind of job. And with it being part hobby, part I've got to get this done for work, the hobby means more to me than actually getting it running for work purposes. Yes, I've got a deadline. The 9th of March, I've got the first event next year that we've got to go to. But that is a few months away. That's like 3 months nearly. So I don't mind just playing about with this engine. And if I want to sit on the floor in my garage and play with an engine, health and safety can't say anything. I know it's uncomfy, but hey, I only spend a few minutes, maybe half an hour in the garage at a time, and just take stuff off, get annoyed, go back in the house, have a cup of coffee, cigarette. As you can see, while I was trying to take the fan pulley off, I missed, or rather didn't miss, with the hammer, and smashed a big hole in the timing case cover. But it's already cracked in this corner anyway from something else. So this timing case cover is, for all intents and purposes, scrap anyway because of that crack. And that was not me. That was probably where it's been knocked, being took out the van, or where something's hit it while it's been stored or being transported one way or another. But I'm not guilty for that hole. So for all intents and purposes, this plastic is scrap. So I could, if I really wanted to, smash it off. Because you couldn't really sell this plastic cover, even if this went back to the guy that owned it and his gifting it me for now until we agree on a price or whatever. He wouldn't be able to have sold this plastic cover separately to the engine because of that, you know, because if somebody really wants a timing case that much, they don't want a big hole in it. So he would probably not have sold this timing case cover because of that anyway. Plus, I am planning on keeping this engine and getting it running, as you know, and I don't want the timing case cover on. So it doesn't really matter that I've broken another piece out, and it doesn't really matter if I smash that entire plastic case off. As long as I don't damage anything underneath the timing case cover, I can do what I like with it. I will undo all the bolts and give it a pry, but the thing is, it's like this pulley wheel here. The timing case cover is behind this pulley wheel, and I don't really want to undo this pulley wheel again. I'm lazy, so I will probably smash that round there and just pull the cover off. Usually these are split in two. Usually you've got this top half and then you've got another bottom half under there, but I'm not sure. I don't think these are. I think there's just a big enough hole around the crankshaft for this case to normally come off, because you don't really want to be undoing that bolt. That bolt is torqued up to so many Newton meters or foot pounds, whichever you work in, imperial, metric, old, new. That's torqued up to such a high specification that most torque wrenches that you can get for like under £300 UK won't go that high. Plus, these bolts, with it being the crankshaft bolt, usually this pulley wheel is holding timing gear on behind it as well as just the pulley wheel. So they are what's known as stretch bolts, or one use only bolts, you know, single use. And once you've torqued the bolt up, if you undo it, you have to buy a new bolt. I don't really want to be buying a new bolt for this and taking that pulley wheel off. So I will, if this plastic cover doesn't come past the crank pulley, I will smash it. But that's something you can do with your own engine. I wouldn't recommend it if you're working on a car, for instance, especially a friend's car. You don't want to be smashing the timing case cover unless they specifically tell you that they want the timing case cover off, no matter how it comes off, because they've got plans not to use it again. And again, with this going to be a static engine, I'm not bothered about this timing case being on, because it will be an absolute pain to change the timing belt if this case is on in the generator cabinet, which you will see in a later video. You'll see the generator cabinet, the old engine that this will be replacing, and I'll get to that. Anyway, I'll crack on and I'll take a few more pieces off or have a break, and I shall see you next time.